Hi everyone, it's Michelle here at Muskoka Yarn Connection, and this is now week 3 in our Fab 3 knit-along. It is our second spring knit-along, and we'll be here till next week, the final week, and hopefully by then I will have at least one finished project to show you. This one is getting close. It needs half of the back and 2 3/4 sleeves. So just to recap what we're doing, because some of you may be tuning in for the first time, it is a 4-week knit-along featuring 3 different designs. Project number 1 is Lords, shown here. This is my work in progress. And this one is top down. It is worked on a 3 and a 3.5 millimeter needle, fingering weight yarns. We have some beautiful colors in Allegria, hand dyed by Manos, that we've been choosing from for our palette. Some of the knit-alongers have chosen 3 colors as suggested by the designer. That's Jennifer Beal, a Canadian designer, and some have scaled it down to just 2 colors or 1. There's lots of ways you can personalize these Fab 3 projects, and this one includes A-line shaping at the sides, eyelet, lace patterns, some wavy stripes, drop sleeves, short rows, and it does include a chart and written directions. 4 sizes from 40 inches finished up to 75. I'm doing size 1, which will come out to 40 inches finished. And project number 2 is Triticum. It is by designer Ann Hansen, an American knitter. And I'll put the links in the comments for each of the designs. This is on 3.5 millimeter and 4, and it is worked from the bottom up, a traditional style cardigan with side seams, underarm seams, and some grafting involved, which will be for the back collar where the 2 sides meet. And you have a choice of 3/4 or long sleeves. It involves lace, stocking stitch, seaming, setting in the sleeves, and the grafting, of course. 8 sizes available from 34 3/4 finished chest to 61 1/4. So again, all the yarns in front are suitable, as well as our store brand, the Fusion Cashmere Merino Nylon blend. Last week I was showing you a project in the works of Triticum in this beautiful shade of chestnut. And once you work with the cashmere yarn, you really see that soft halo more pronounced. And then project number 3, this is a very popular choice, Isle Valenne, also by Jennifer Beal, worked entirely on 3.25 millimeter fingering weight choices again, and it involves A-line shaping, cables, eyelets, lace, completely seamless, which is a bonus. It does have set-in sleeves, which have short row shaping, and a tiny amount of stranded color work, and you can probably guess where that is going to happen. Right on the sleeves. So for that one, we had choices of the pale pink. I'm going to show you a work in progress today in this beautiful soft doe or fawn beige. And Richard DeVries Feed was a popular choice for the tiny bits of color work on the sleeves, as well as in the stripes on Lords. So I've chosen this color, Warp Speed Dark Matter, for my stripes. It uses very little, and I'm sure many of you had some stash yarns or leftovers that you could incorporate. And as always, every week we do a trivia question at the end of the video, and one lucky winner will get an extra ballot into our draw bucket for the grand prize, which will be live next week. So congratulations to Kyoko, who won last week's trivia ballot, and the week before it was Beth. So I'll have a trivia question at the end of this video. So I'm just going to go over some of the tips that are coming in from the knit-alongers on each of the designs. So project number 1, Lords. Well, that is a project that really keeps you on your toes. myself and one of the other knit-alongers both stated that we have always preferred to work from a chart. If they give you written directions versus charted directions, we've always felt it was easier to work from the chart, follow the chart. It's more like a picture. You can see where you've come from, where you're going. But in this case, there are 4 charts, 4 sections of written directions for all this lace work. And we have gone straight to the written directions just to keep our sanity. So something about Jennifer Beal Designs is she will throw in little curveballs. You think you've got a pattern pretty well established and memorized, and then all of a sudden it changes and it starts to sprout into other types of lace work. So that's what's been happening here, but that keeps it interesting, of course, and intriguing, so there's no complaints about that. I was questioning the needle change. So from here to here, she is using, or suggesting we use, a 3.5 millimeter needle, which is great, that makes sense. And then for the following charts, C and D, she's had us change to a 3 millimeter. And I was questioning that as I was starting off, and I thought, well, if we're doing the A-line shaping, which is increasing along the side, I'll show you close to the camera, why are we knitting it on a tighter tension? Don't we want it to flow and flare out slightly? So I stayed on a 3.25 instead of a 3. So 3.5 here, and then I stayed on 3.25 millimeter for this section. So that would be up to you. It depends. If you want it to be a little more clingy, then go to the 3. But if you want it to have a nice A-line effect, hopefully you'll see that next week if I get my back done, then stay on a 3.25. So just a helpful tip as you're motoring along. And she has us casting off at the bottom after the ribbed panel or welt. She has us casting off with a 2-stitch I-cord. Now that gives it a really nice scalloped effect. It follows the lines of the pattern, and it also stabilizes and gives it a bit more structure. If you're not a fan of I-cord bind off, then you could do a regular cast off or the Icelandic bind off. It's not changing the pattern really in any way. I'll put the link in the event page and in the comments for the I-cord bind off to remind you how to work that. And then I jumped ahead, as you can see here, and I finished the neckline as suggested with the 3-stitch I-cord neckline. And I think that gives it a little more impact instead of just the 2-stitch. So that makes sense, of course. So I'll bring it up closer and you can have a look. So there you can see the 3-stitch I-cord bind off makes a beautiful edge that will not roll outwards or inwards when it's blocked, of course. It is rolling a bit at the back, but that just needs blocking. And the the I-cord at the bottom is on 2 stitches, so it's very, very minimal, but it does have a nice effect and it lays flat. So here you can see the scallop design in chart A is complete with the striping, and then chart B is another scallop pattern that changes just slightly, and chart C is sort of the in-between pattern to transition to the final lace work. So it all flows just beautifully, and I know with the merino superwash that there is a great deal of, what should we say, a great deal of stretch after it's blocked. So take that into account when you're measuring from your shoulder in the pattern to where you start the ribbing or the welt pattern. Please take into account that there will be a fair bit of stretching in this section, vertically and horizontally here. So don't over knit, in other words. If you under knit by 1 inch, you know it's going to grow. So that's all I can show you on this one. Now I'm going to show a work in progress from one of our knitalongers. She is really, really flying with her fingers this week and last week. So this is Isle Valenne, and it's worked, like I said, from the top down. It works from the back of the collar across the shoulders, and the entire front is in a beautiful lace pattern which almost looks like lotus flowers, and then it has the built-in edging of the collar when blocked out will just roll slightly and settle into place. And as of today, she is just casting off the bottom border. Her stitches are still halfway on the needle, and she'll be ready to pick up around the sleeve opening and knit the sleeve down with the fancy color work and lace on the sleeve cuffs. So the back is entirely plain stocking stitch, and the front has all the detail work. Just gorgeous, and it's nice when it's stocking stitched too, because you can see the subtle variations in the hand-dyed yarn, which are not as evident in the lace work. So there you can see the shawl collar. You can turn it under or wear it straight up and down, whatever your preference. So I'll bring this one up to the camera for a close-up. And how is everybody doing with your knit-along project? Are you making good headway, or have you taken a break and gone to other projects? So there is a close-up of the lace work. And this one has A-line shaping too. Because she is shorter in height than the actual designer, she has shortened the length from the underarm. I think it was 6 inches from the underarm to the start of the A-line shaping. She shortened that quite a bit. So you can go between 3 to 4 inches instead of 6, and then start your A-line shaping there so that you can fit them all in before you get to the bottom border. And the bottom border, there's a little tiny error in the pattern on page 8. It's just a typo. They're asking for a 2.5 inch length of border, or 5 centimeters, but if you do the math, it's actually 6 centimeters, which equals 2.5 inches. Here, because of her length, her height, she's shortened the border to 2 inches, and she's decided to do the Icelandic bind off. I'll put the link down below. Across the lace work, that's the front, right front and left front. And then when you come to the change in pattern, which is the twisted rib, she's casting off in the twisted rib. So you don't want to cast off just knit purlways, because it's going to flare out dramatically. You want to have that elasticity, and that only comes from following the twisted rib as you do your regular cast off. So make a note of that if you're not at that point yet, and those tips might be helpful to you. So hopefully, I have a feeling we might have an Isle Valenne completely finished next week to put on the mannequin. And with any luck, I will have Lord's finished, and we may even have a triticum. I haven't heard any progress reports in the last few days of our knitters who are working on triticum, so I'll be surprised if anybody reports that they're finished in the next week. So that, I think that's all the tips. I didn't really have any tips for triticum this week. It seems to be very clearly written and smooth sailing. One more tip for Isle Valenne is for the armhole. The armhole appears to be quite a wide, deep opening, and Jennifer Beale has very carefully put in her directions how many stitches to pick up for each section of the armhole, because it's a rounded set-in sleeve. So if you can't get that stitch number, if you feel that the stitches are going to be gappy, try to pick up your normal estimated amount of stitches, even if it's over her stitch count, and then you can decrease to her stitch count on the first row. So she'll start you into the short row shaping, but you can do one round of stocking stitch with your decreases to get to the correct number. That will look much smoother than trying to force less stitches into a wider opening. Okay, so we're going to move into our trivia question now. So feel free to post in the comments your best guess. Name one pattern design by Jennifer Beal, other than the two that we featured in this Fab 3 knit along. So she does have lots of other designs. Some of you have knit more than one, more than two, more than three, and no naming names. So if you can just name one of her other designs in the comments, that will put you into a random draw for another ballot to go in the grand prize bucket. And next week I'll have the grand prize to show you, so that makes it even more exciting. So thanks everybody for watching. I hope you're going to have a really nice weekend with some good weather wherever you are, and some nice knitting time.